So a few months ago, during a Q&A, I got a question from a patron. Incidentally, consider signing up for the channel's Patreon down below. And like and subscribe. No, I am a truly terrible patronee. I barely do anything over there. I've tried to start a Discord server like I think at least 5 or 6 times. I'm bad at this. On the other hand, find me another YouTuber viewer who's gonna put out detailed notes and scores on like 10 bottles a week, which I'm doing this week. And yeah, put them down below. I will go watch and subscribe to them because I'm putting in the work, y'all. Anyway, so I got this question. Have you, Scott, ever tried any Swedish whiskey? And yes, I have. But in general, because I have like just so much stuff to taste through constantly, world whiskeys, which is this kind of meaningless negative category, has it's tended to take a back seat for me, and that's not totally fair, right? But however, I ran out of excuses when I was finally able to get a hold of a bottle of Smögen. I've been trying to get a hold of this stuff for years and years and years, and I was finally able to grab some. And as a sparring partner, I've got some Mackmyra and also an interloper from across the Baltic Sea in Germany, in Bavaria in particular. This is St. Kilian. So we're going to get all of these poured, and we're going to review them. These are all actually peated as well, which I didn't know going into this. Am I mad? No, I am not. All right, so this is the Mackmyra Identitet. I'm going to mess up all my pronunciations in this episode. I apologize. Bear with me. And this is the St. Killian 8 from Bavaria. Very cool bottle. Very impractical bottle. It is still better than the than some of the bourbon bottles I've had to gift wrap before. And we have got Smögen Dante, 10-year-old. And yeah, so let us talk about these. Okay, Mackmyra first. Mackmyra, so first of all, they just closed. They just closed shop. Last I checked, no, there hasn't been a buyer, but there's no reason why someone couldn't go in there and just restart the equipment. The other confusion about Mackmyra is there's actually 2 of them. There's been, they had the old site, which was in an old mill, and I think it closed that, around 10 years ago or so. And then you have the new site, Gravity or something, I think it's called, which is what produced this. Let me think. So northeast Sweden. The town is, what the heck is the town? I'm going to butcher this. Gävle. And so this Identitet. So the previous Mackmyra I tried was not like this. The previous Mackmyra I tried was very kind of like quasi Speyside. This one, this Identitet. So first of all, it's non-age stated, so quite young. And the gimmick on this is it's peated, yeah, but it's also the malt was juniper-seasoned. So we're not talking about a gin here. We're talking about smoking juniper in order to dry malt in the same way you would use peat, which is a little bit of a different game. And Swedish oak casks. I don't think Swedish oak is a particular species. I think it's just Quercus robur, like most of European oak, but still a little bit special. All right, let's, and this is probably bottled pretty recently, 2023 or so. 48 point something percent, 48.7, so plenty strong. Let's dig into this. And yeah, it's a fun nose. You can tell it's young, but despite the youth, it's very, very, very fun. It's very like it's got a fudgy barnyard mainland peat kind of thing. This is not Isla peat, which is very, when it's not medicinal at least, very kind of maritime but clean. No, this is like, there's horses and cows and pigs and stuff running around, and maybe like there's some little bit of animal poo happening. There's a little bit of that, but it's fudgy at the same time. So you're talking about confectioner's fudge, just vanilla fudge here, not chocolate. Yeah, vanilla fudge. Grainy as well. There's like a cream of wheat element to this, like cream of wheat with a little bit of honey. But then you got the thing that would give this away as not Scottish in a blind, which is this kind of like Christmas tree bark thing. So, run up to an evergreen, don't smell the needles, go smell the bark. That is what this smells like. I mean, here's a little bit of an unexpected connection. This reminds me a little bit of Lost Spirits Leviathan, the very first malt that Lost Spirits, may they rest in peat, ever created was peated with Canadian peat. So evergreen peat, not, the stuff they have in Scotland. And there's a little bit of that in here. It's like a little bit of like a bonfire in Alberta or something. Maybe s'mores with pine sap, something like that. Little touches of floral, like a pear compote thing. Caraway seed. More vanilla. White pepper. There's a smoky thing in this. It's like I'm a child of the South. I spent a lot of time in North Carolina growing up, and imagine like smoked rainbow trout without the rainbow trout. So just the fish smoke. There's kind of a little bit of that coming through. A little bit of lemon peel on the palate. I just noticed I poured less of the Mackmyra. Ooh. Sorry about licking the bottle. There's, I don't want more dribbles of alcohol on this table. It's very young. Not bad. Not that it's rough or anything. It isn't, but it's very, very forward in the mouth. Everything that's happening is like right up in the front of my teeth. That said, though, there's a fair bit going on up in the front of my mouth. It's very oily. We're getting that kind of like evergreen peat, Alberta campfire thing going again. But also like stinky, fudgy mainland Scotland peat. I think this is all locally sourced stuff, but mainland peat. So it's a little stinky. It's a little bit like some a pig and some chickens pooped nearby, but nice. Kind of an oatmeal element on the palate. Smoked trout without the trout thing again. Something floral, but with the juniper, and again, it's not ginny. This does not present gin at all. But there is that little hint of Christmas tree in this. And combined with the floral elements from the malt, it almost comes across as like an expensive soap, but not like bad soapy, good soapy, nice soapy. Some pear again, quince, lemon lime. touches of caraway again. A little bit like, there's a little bit of an akavit kind of vibe on this. Yeah, this would be killer as like a digestif if you're, you know, looking for something to pour after a seafood meal kind of thing. Maybe some, you serve some smoked eel and everyone stuffs themselves on fish and you bring this out at the end. That would work really nicely. Very interesting. I would love to see more development on this, but it's lovely as it is. It's kind of a fun little world unto itself. I'll give us a squirt of water or two, squirt and change, like squirt and a quarter, and we'll move on. And we're just going up by proof here. The Smögen is the strongest, so the St. Killian goes in the middle at 53.8% alcohol. Okay, St. Killian, 8. 8 is not the age because this was distilled 2017, 2018, and then bottled 2021, which I think indicates 3 years old. Made in Germany, specifically in Bavaria, and the village is, oh God, Rüdenau. Again, apologies for the pronunciation. And honestly, if I had known the wood breakdown before I bought this, I probably wouldn't have bought this because it's a little bit scary. All right, let's walk through this. 43% ex-rye whiskey, fine. 27% ex-bourbon, fine. 19% ex-Rotwein Rioja, so ex-Rioja red wine, which is really interesting because Rioja is one of the last wine regions in the world that routinely uses American oak, Quercus alba. It's traditional there. You've seen a lot of producers transition over to other oaks, but a lot of the old hands still use American oak, and I'm guessing some of that is in here. So you're looking at red wine casks, which is a little scary. I'm a little scared of red wine casks, but you're talking about red wine casks which maybe bring a little bit of, softer vanilla to them as well, which is kind of a new energy for me. Pfalz, which is Pfalz oak, so oak sourced from the Pfalz region, and acacia 2%. It's quite a mixture here, and it is peated to, I wrote it down somewhere, 54 parts per million. It should be quite a beast. On the nose, grungy. Oh yeah, I mean, so my wife came up with this note, but I think it nails it down. When you've just gone through winter and the ice is melted, or you've just shoveled up all the ice, and you find the leftover leaves from the fall underneath, and they're kind of wet and they're rotting a little bit. That is what this smells like. This smells like the rotting fall leaves you discover early on in spring when the snow melts. I'm kind of into it though. Again, it smells very young, but a lot going on. Flowers, barnyard peat, again, stinky, just grungy stuff. More barnyardiness. There's cows and ducks and geese wandering around, and I'm into it. More flowers, dried wildflowers. Hints of vanilla. There's also something savory, almost. I hate to play into stereotypes here, but there's an uncooked sausage kind of thing. Not cooked sausage. No. We're talking about the meat and the spices, before you cook them. white pepper, burned oatmeal. There's a little bit of fennel happening. Just grungy as AF, as the kids say. It's really dominated by that kind of like rotting fall leaves note, though. Really fun, interesting nose. Slightly herbal as well. On the palate, fun is going to be like a running theme for for this episode. Neither of these two smell Scottish. Not anywhere near Scotland. They're doing their own thing. Like they're definitely, it's variations on that style, but they're their own thing, which is, it's what I want in world whiskey, to be honest. Again, on the palate. Again, it's pretty forward in the mouth. It's getting further back than the Mackmyra was. But yeah, it feels young. It's very forward. It's super oily, but it's also grippy. Like this holds on. This does not like fade away on the finish at all. It just like holds and holds and holds with all of its dirty, grungy barnyardiness. Rotting leaves, stinky barnyard stuff, vanilla fudgy peat. Again, mainland Scotland style peat. Kind of like an oatmeal note, but it's like grungy old oatmeal that you left on the table all day, but nice. Some apple now, like cider apple, bitter apple. I'm digging this. Black pepper, rye bread, but we're not talking like really well made artisanal rye. We're talking about like grocery store rye bread, that kind of thing. There's something herbal on this as well. What is that? Like not actual herbs. It almost tastes like greens or something, like carrot greens or something. Hints of lemon rind. It's just very, very super oily. This is not by any means a big distillery, but yeah. We'll see how this holds up to water, but at the moment, I'm actually very impressed by this. Well done, Germany. Well done, Bavaria. Can't ask a whole lot more from a 3-year-old whiskey than this. Let's see if Two Swords does it. Go one squirt more. And I'll stop there. All right, and now we move on to the Smögen. This is a 50 centiliter bottle, as you can see, which makes sense because this distillery on the western side of Sweden is absolutely tiny. I think it's like one guy and maybe a handful of helpers doing everything here. And they make, they have a tiny still, they have worm tubs, and they make peaty whiskey. That's what they do. So this particular one is, it's a 10-year-old. It is called Dante, and it has an adorable bloodhound on it. So this is one of the more lightly peated bottles, but they have aged this in 4 first fill Sauternes casks. That's important. Sauternes it's a dessert wine. It's a dessert wine based on white grapes, And more importantly, maybe, it is based on noble rot wines, which is to say, I've done videos on Sauternes before, but basically they're letting the rinds, the grapes, start to rot on the vine, like get fungus infections before they harvest them and make the wine. And that creates some interesting characteristics. And so Sauternes, especially long-term Sauternes maturation, can get very fun. So I'm excited to try this. This was, I think, yeah, they gave so distilled spring 2011 and then bottled 10 years later. All right, let's see what we got. I'm very excited about this. First impression, it's surprisingly clean compared to the first two. I mean, it's very understated, actually. Not to say that this is there's not stuff going on. It's just not hopping out of the glass with stinky stuff. So first impression is like limoncello. Or really, it's like almost like you like sautéed mushrooms in limoncello. Like you sautéed some mushrooms in like the good stuff, like stuff you sourced from Italian nuns or something. But there's an overcoat of peat on there. It's like it's very floral peat. It's almost like you took that kind of floral side of Bowmore and you pushed it further. It's quite beautiful. It's there's an old white Burgundy kind of thing when you know like a Montrachet starts to oxidize a little bit. That's going on. Apples, overripe peach, vanilla, cinnamon. There's a nuttiness to this too, kind of like riding alongside the mushroomy umami thing. It's not really nuts. It's more like an Amontillado kind of thing, like oxidative white wine. White pepper, some cardamom, apricot, honey note. I don't know what kind of honey. It's a very like fruity honey, like a berry-driven honey. Maybe it's like honey infused with blueberries or something. I don't know. It's not jumping out of the glass to meet me, but it's very layered. It's very complex. On the palate. I have to think about this one. In some ways, this also feels a hair bit young. Older than the others. It's got more mouth length than the others. But they could have easily let this cask go for another couple of years and it wouldn't have hurt it at all. But it's quite serious, this whiskey. A lot of notes follow from the nose, like, again, limoncello, honey, mushrooms, peach, apple, vanilla, kind of like a chai spice kind of mix. So ginger, cinnamon, cardamom, all that stuff. Something nutty again. It's Amontillado, but it's also just like straight up mixed nuts. Oatmeal. Oatmeal with honey. Apricot again. And that really interesting floral peat thing. And I'm regretting getting one bottle of this because I would, as much as I'm digging the Sauternes influence on this, I would love to try like a cleaner expression just to see like how, like, is that floral thing, does that carry through in all of their expressions, or is it just, is it just happening here? It's also lightly ashy. And here's the big shock. This is really, really crushable. Like, this is, I could just pour the glass up to here and just work my way through this and that would be my afternoon. This is delicious. Beyond the level of quality, which is pretty dang high, this is just a very, very drinkable, sessionable whiskey. And that's not nothing. It's not something my scoring can account for, really, but take that into consideration. 2, 3, 4. Oh, and what is the ABV on this? 57.8. So we're gonna go to at least 5. Some of the squirts were a little bit short, so I'm going to give it another half squirt and call it good. And we'll go back through these. Back to the Mackmyra. When I threw these things together, I was really hoping I could make this like a Mackmyra memorial, I guess, something like that, because they did just close, and that's really sort of a big shame. But I gotta say, going into round 2, this is kind of, in the back. But we shall see. With water, it does sweeten up a little bit, so there's a little bit more of a kind of vanilla creamer kind of element coming through. Vanilla fudge as well. What is that? Like a sweet curry kind of element coming through, like a Thai curry thing happening. Interesting. These are really fun. Like, if you're used to Scotch whiskey, and I'm kind of used to a Scotch whiskey, like that was where I learned to box, so to speak. These are all really fun whiskeys to hang out with and just nose and taste to kind of challenge yourself, because there's a lot of themes that are in common, but there's these little changes that you have to kind of go dig in and go, what is that? Yeah. Interesting. On the palate. Ooh. So with water, okay, so it does sweeten up a bit and soften up a bit with the water, but at the same time, it kind of seems to flatten the flavors, take away a little bit of the interest, and the finish just gets sort of clipped. And don't say that I drowned this, because I didn't. I added like a squirt and a half to this glass, and it should be holding up with just that. Yeah, if you have this bottle, it's lovely. Don't add water to it. It's better without water. It really is like bringing me flashbacks of that old Lost Spirits Leviathan, that Canadian smoky peaty thing. Evergreen peat. It's hard to score this because on the one hand, as a whiskey, it's good, but it has its issues. The mouth length is short. The finish is a little bit short. It's the mouth feel is good. And it's unique. But, okay, so if I'm going to score this as a whiskey, I'm going to call it like an 85 minus. But it's also like, it feels like something that you can use to stretch the boundaries of what whiskey can do. Again, you can use this as a digestif. Just pour it after meals in the same way you would an Amaro or something. Yeah, something like that. It feels very like cleansing. But yeah, in terms of score, I would call this an 85 minus. Very nice, very well made. Could use more time, and yeah, it's nice. I like it. But my suspicion is it is not going to win the flight. All right, moving on back to the St. Killian 8 Signature Edition. You really would think I would hate this from the from the wood breakdown. Usually I see exotic woods and I go, "Arr," but no. This is another lesson in just, if you have an exotic cask, don't do a finish. Like, I know you want to do a finish because you're like scared. You're like, if I leave it in there for more than a couple of months, it's gonna overwhelm things. No, just put the spirit in there. Let it go. Just let the cask influence the way it wants. Let the spirit in the cask marry, and then if you need to correct it, hey, you've got those other casks out there, and you can kind of blend away issues and make something more interesting and complex. And that's what they're doing here. I'm not going to go seek out Rioja casks whiskey like on my own, but in a blend, it's kind of working. This is so dirty. It's so, yeah, I mean, rotting leaves is, my wife nailed it. Like, rotting, like, fall leaves is just exactly what this smells like. There's some more black pepper now with the water coming out. There's a little bit of like an artisanal multi-grain bread thing. Even if, like, it's putting a smile on my face. What can I say? I really dig this style. It's not something I would reach for all the time, but yeah, this just like grungy, dirty, rotting style. It's something I'm not used to in malt whiskey, and I'm really happy about it. Not even, like, what are the dirtiest malt whiskeys I can think of? Not even like Glenturret or like Balakin gets up to this level of grungy on the palate. Ooh. If anything, adding water to this actually steps everything up a little bit. Who are these guys? This is nice. Yeah, I mean, for a distillery that couldn't have started, any more than 10 years ago, this is very, very impressive stuff. Yeah, the mouth presence, including the mouth length, which I was kind of annoyed with before, this is now starting to tickle the back of my throat a little bit, which is always a good sign. It's very creamy. It was oily before, but with water, it turns like creamy. The flavors are there. It's not a huge, big old range of flavors happening, but what's there just kind of like redoubles and intensifies a little bit. It's very farmy. I got to score this. I'll call this an 86 plus. I really like this stuff. It's if you do not like grungy farmy whiskeys, if you try I don't know, like Ardmore or Bladnoch or even some of the Irish pot still stuff, and you're like, it's a little too, I want something a little cleaner than this. Do not buy this whiskey because that is more in that direction. But on the other hand, if you like your Ardmore but just want like even more stinky, poopy animal stuff happening than those bottlings, go and find this stuff. This is it's really a distinctive style, and it works. And I feel bad because like I wanted to make this video about the Swedes and Swedish whiskey, and the German is coming in to sweep up like all the attention. Again, well done, Bavaria. All right, Smögen, it's up to you. Has anyone ever released a bottling with like a cute distillery animal that's been bad? You don't do that, do you? Like, you always make sure the bottling with the cute animal on it is gonna be good, right? Maybe that's a marketing quality. All right, back to the Dante here. Oh, yeah. I mean, as much as I love the grunge and the stinky qualities of the St. Killian, I mean, this is just beautiful stuff. This Smögen, like fresh toast with like marmalade, and there's flowers. There's a little bit of peat, but it's not really about the peat of the barley. Like, in some ways, the casks, the Sauternes casks, are in charge on this bottling, and I'm honestly not angry about it. It's beautiful. Sort of like the St. Killian. It's, yeah, everything just steps up a little half notch. I was complaining a little bit about the mouth presence before, but here it is. It has stepped up. It's like drinking a savory limoncello. That's really what this comes across as. I guess like a spicy limoncello too, though. So just imagine, like, the nuns had a really interesting day, and they decided they wanted to infuse their limoncello with some stewed mushrooms, just for fun. That's kind of what this tastes like. But there's also like the Burgundian side of this. Oh, that kind of like yeah, like a white Burgundy side of this, like a high-end Premier Cru white Burgundy side of this. I don't know. If you come to this bottling and you're expecting a peat monster, it's not what you're going to get. That's not what this is doing. But as a thing of finesse and just like beauty and, oh, by the way, deliciousness. Like, I like these other two. Like, this is the one I would have for like a drinking session, if you know what I mean. This is the one I would go home with. This is tremendous. I'm trying to find an 87 on this. I think it's there. I think it just ekes through. 87 points. 87 points for the Smögen Dante. And so Sweden comes out on top at the end of the day. And there's your lineup. It just kind of like goes up in order of score, doesn't it? So 85 minus for the Mackmyra Identitet. This is kind of, if you can find this at a good price, this is worth a grab. I mean, it's do not see juniper and expect gin here. That is not the vibe at all. It is much more peated whiskey as digestif. That's what this is. St. Kilian, absolutely filthy. I love it. 86 plus, and the Smögen Dante. Really nuanced, really beautiful, and really crushable. 87 points flat. And that is the video. Thanks for watching, and cheers.